Also, so I'm thrilled to welcome Jodi Lawaich and Wayne Newton. Jodi is a Chief Marketing Officer of Rural Solutions, and Wayne Newton, joining us from Los Angeles, is the Vice President of Sales and Channel Partnership. And I'm really interested in knowing more about Wi-Fi marketing. I'm not familiar with it, and just excited to learn how it could benefit people. So Jodi, Wayne, thank you so much for joining us today, and look forward to learning more.
Hi guys, I am going to start sharing my screen. Some of you know me from a couple of weeks ago. I was given the opportunity to do organic social media as a webinar here with the CVOEO, which I'd love to do. So I see a couple of you are back. Thanks for coming back, I appreciate it. And I am going to start the slideshow. Now I'm doing this with Wayne, who is, as Simeon just told you, he's with GoZone Marketing, GoZone Wi-Fi. And I am going to be sort of steering the boat, but I'm going to have Wayne jump in a lot because he is the super pro on all of this. So Wi-Fi marketing it can be a tough name to sort of decipher, but the best way to tell you just in a nutshell what it is, you know, if you've gone to our local Applebee's, if you've gone to Longhorn over in Williston and you've gotten onto their free Wi-Fi, they are doing Wi-Fi marketing. Because you had to sign in with your credentials, you saw a splash page, and then you got online. So that is, if you're like, I've never done it before, you have. So just wanted to let you know that. Our webinar topics, they're pretty simple. What is Wi-Fi marketing? We're going to break that down a little bit. How does Wi-Fi marketing benefit both patrons and venues, meaning both, you know, if you have a brick and mortar customers who are coming in and you as the venue? How do you add Wi-Fi marketing to your operation? We're going to go over that, the basics of that, and then an idea of costs. So just starting off, what is Wi-Fi marketing? As I said before, it's when retailers or other public venue operators provide free wireless internet to guests, and really the exchange point, as you can see in this welcome screen, is they're offering up a credential. So it's this exchange of giving kind of a courtesy service, but they're saying, okay, you can contact me about stuff. And that's where I really feel is just the beginning of how important this is, because that data collection is gold. They are gold nuggets. It's like, you know, panning in a river for email, and you're coming up with the gold nuggets because the platform verifies the email, makes sure that it's real, and it's what we call clean. This person is saying, yes, you can go ahead and contact me. The marketing involves the use of software, and the software is the one that's taking in the information and, you know, giving that exchange. The personal information, then it's kind of amazing because it automatically feeds into the platform. You're not doing anything. I mean, it's essentially this really unintrusive, passive way of collecting important data so that you can learn about your audience, develop an audience, all of that. And then the analytics are really pretty incredible. It's not just an email. You're learning everything from gender to age to location, which I realize can be a little Big Brother-ish, and people go, "Ooh, that's a little scary." But the bottom line is that these are important analytics for any business, and I mean that for profit, nonprofit. You need to know who's patronizing you. And this is one of the sort of easiest and least intrusive and really cost-effective ways to do it. Wayne, do you have anything to add on that?
I always do. Uh, it's a real pleasure for me to be here. As Simeon introduced me earlier, I'm sitting out in Los Angeles, but I grew up in a small town in western Minnesota, and I spent most of my adult life in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. While I'm sitting out here in sunny California now, I can associate both with the winter that you're all sitting in yet, and also with some of the challenges and opportunities of being in a more rural area or working for a small business, because I've been associated with a lot of them over the course of my life. And as an employee of GoZone, while we work with a lot of different venue types, large facilities and lots of different kinds of things, we have a very large component of our total client base that is small businesses and are in some of the verticals that you guys all represent. And so what I hope to do as I spend my time talking today is to really break this down into things that are meaningful for you. And the way that I like to start this is by putting some of the technology and some of the marketing talk to the side for a second, and just grounding us all in the fact that, first of all, if someone has walked into your store, they're interested in what you're selling. And so, and I want to establish a little bit of a foundation here. And as Jodi was talking about, if they're also seeking to connect to the internet over your Wi-Fi network, they have a reason for wanting to do that. And those reasons might be that the cellular service isn't very good, and there's lots of reasons for why that's the case. They may not be on an unlimited data plan, and they're watching their data. They may be on a unlimited data plan, but know that when they exceed certain levels, that they start to get throttled and they don't have as strong a connection as they the way the companies work. So there's a variety of reasons why people seek that out. And I can tell you that even in today's world, where you might question, whether people are going to look to connect to your network, that's overwhelmingly the case. People do look to connect to Wi-Fi. Interestingly, millennials, which we all talk a lot about millennials, but millennials are probably one of the strongest demographical groups of people who seek to connect to Wi-Fi. It's sort of just a thing, much like a lot of the other characteristics that group of consumers exhibit. But it's across the board, all demographics. And you can do things to influence that, by the way, and we'll talk to that a little bit later. But some of the foundational things are that if you've got someone coming into your place of business, they're interested in what you're promoting or selling. They're looking to get onto Wi-Fi. And so you've got those fundamental things working in your favor. The rest of it is just, what are you going to do about it? And the way that I would sort of describe this at a high level is, this is no different than anything else that you are either already doing, or that you would like to do, or that you wish you could do, as it relates to engaging with patrons of your place of business. The only difference is it's more effective. There's more information that is at your fingertips, and it's much more automated. And we'll talk a little bit about each of those things as we go through this. But think about this as, if you've got a Wi-Fi network, you should consider putting it to use in presenting yourself and your message and your story and your promotions and your offers and your communications over that network to the people that come into your place of business, and then additionally and on an ongoing basis after they leave. Because one of the things you'll learn today is the starting point, that initial registration where you get some basic information about the guest, is only the beginning of the journey. What you do with that information over time, we call guest engagement. And that's where you start to unlock the value in both the network that you have, the fact and the reality that they're looking to connect to it, and then all the different things that you can do in kind of putting those things together into something that will help you and provide more value to them.
That was great. Thank you so much. Okay, so how does Wi-Fi marketing work? And I talked a little bit about this. And as you can see from the diagram, well, not a diagram, but the picture, it's really about, you get that initial splash page, and the platform enables you to choose what credentials you want people logging in with. So that's entirely within your control. So the person chooses what credential. This one was Facebook. The next one goes to what we call a splash page. And there's a lot that a business can do with this. I'm going to have Wayne talk about that a little bit more, but that splash page can be leveraged for a few different things. As you can see, actually from the next picture, and then they're on. That's it. It's pretty simple. So it's offered to guests when they step within, your network space. And I would say at this point, I mean, I know that when I go out, and this is because I'm a cheap Gen Xer, but I don't like to pay for data. So I always look for the Wi-Fi, and I'm kind of at the point where I get annoyed when venues, particularly like restaurants, don't actually have a Wi-Fi available. And I think that's becoming more and more common, especially as Wayne said, for millennials. I'm trying to train my 19-year-old to do it. She's still in that, but we have unlimited data. And I keep trying to explain to her that there is no such thing as unlimited data. So I do think that as business owners, we all have to think about that aspect of what sort of courtesy steps do people expect at this point. And really just these bullet points are walking you through. They're going to log on. They're going to get that splash page to prompt a little bit more information. They're going to go to that next splash page or landing page. And that's where I'm going to have Wayne talk a little bit more about how that splash page after they log in can really be leveraged. And this is the point where they get on and you seamlessly have this incredible amount of information. And that's building your email list. It's building, if you're going to use some social media off of this, just the data collection is so essential. It's essential for every business. And to be able to leverage that simply just because people are walking into your space, that to me is just, it should be part of a common set of tools. So Wayne, I'm going to turn this part over to you about how the Wi-Fi marketing works.
All right, awesome. So just a point of clarification, if you're looking at these 5 cell phone screens and thinking that we're saying that you should make people look at 5 screens before they get onto your network, that's not at all what this is. It's our attempt to try to show you a couple of different things that you can do, just options available to you, like Jodi was saying. A normal guest experience for something like this is going to involve 1, maybe 2 pages, and then they're on the internet. So the way that we kind of lay this out is that, and again, this is totally up to you. Every single square millimeter of this screen is your choice on what is displayed. We've given you the fact that there's a lot of different ways that you can allow people to connect, but you could choose to just use email, and then you wouldn't have all these other options. I will tell you that people increasingly are responding really well to text messaging. And so you might want to consider capturing a mobile number from people for future marketing purposes. If you have a Facebook presence, or you are strongly reliant on your Facebook presence, you may want to consider Facebook, because first of all, people can use their Facebook profile credentials to log in. But secondly, we can help you gather more likes and, help promote and drive your Facebook presence as part of this process as well. But anyway, the control for you is up to you and what is displayed here. Depending on what you choose to include, they're going to then be driven to that registration page, which, like Jodi was saying, or like I commonly use as an example, if you stay at a hotel, you get a login screen, you get onto the Wi-Fi, and it usually asks for your last name and your room number. That's a splash page. And they're authenticating or validating your name and your room number against the database, the registration system, and then bringing you on board. If you're a premium or loyalty member, maybe they give you higher speed Wi-Fi. There's a bunch of stuff like that that goes on in and around us every day. And this is just another version of that that's being directed towards benefits for you in supplying this access. And we'll get into some of the benefits for both you and your customers or guests in a little bit. But the flow here is to allow that access, provide that amenity of getting onto the Wi-Fi, and then deliver or present some value-added messaging associated with your business, whether it's an upcoming event, a promotional offer, directions or navigation around the facility, a cooperative marketing offer for a business that you are doing some joint marketing with, or whatever you want it to be. You can see advertising options here as an example. And then the last screen that we're showing is actually a campaign or an email, as you can see from the top here, that can go out to your guests or a subset of your guests that you've collected contact information for as a follow-up. So you think about the flow as bring them onto the system, allow them to get onto your network, use the credentials or registration options of your choosing, deliver some kind of value-added messaging to them in the process, get them onto the internet securely, then they're free to do whatever they wanted to connect to do in the first place. But then you've got their contact record. They've chosen to opt into your marketing or messaging, and now that engagement journey can begin. And our system allows you to quickly and easily create what we call campaigns, which are just marketing messages that can be sent out over email, over text, or even through Twitter, that now you can start doing on an ongoing basis as part of your overall marketing strategy. And we can help you not only understand what all these different options are, but we can also help you create this stuff and help you get onto this if it's something that's completely new to you. Any questions or comments from anyone on that? Okay, well, please feel free to interrupt us and ask if there's anything that isn't making sense, or you want more clarification, or you've got a great example or an idea, because we'd like to make this as interactive as we can and help you get the most out of it.
Yeah, I mean, please feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat, because Simeon and Rachel are keeping an eye on it. I can't see it right now because of my screen being the presentation. But one thing I did want to add on to what Wayne just said in this fourth picture where it says the free pizza or the drive away, that's one way to leverage, as he was saying, a local partnership, or, if let's say you're a restaurant up here, particularly, and there's a specific farm that you're getting food from or produce from, you can leverage a page like this for ad sales for yourself. Say to them, hey, for $50 a month, I'll put you guys on our Wi-Fi splash page, and with a, so people can click and go over and see what you have. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this. And I realize there's a lot of information. So take it in, write some stuff down. We definitely have time for questions.
So Wayne, Jodi, thanks so much. I can't speak for everybody on here, of course, but as far as I'm concerned, what you presented was really clear. So.
Oh, great.
Give you a little feedback.
Good. Good to hear. Okay, so how does Wi-Fi marketing benefit your patrons, the people coming to your venue? As I talked about earlier, I believe customers really are at the point where they're expecting free Wi-Fi as part of the experience of being in your space. And it doesn't matter whether you're a retail space, an outdoor venue, a concert hall, a bridal show, people are looking for that. I actually have a client that we're talking to now because they went to a bridal show in January, and they're an event company. They do some really cool stuff. They have the open photo booth, and they have one of those crazy like 360 video things. And part of what their service is that as soon as you get the pictures of yourself with your friends in the open photo booth, they have an automatic SMS that sends those pictures to people. And then those people can beam them out to Facebook, Instagram, anywhere they want to. Unfortunately, where the bridal show was being held had really terrible Wi-Fi. So that second half of that experience was unfortunately nullified for them. I mean, people got to take the pictures and saw them themselves, but the Wi-Fi was so weak that they weren't getting that SMS. And, you know, we're talking to him, he'll be in the next one because it's more of an outdoor venue thing. But it was a big letdown, not just for him, but for the people who jumped in the photo booth and had fun. They had to get the pictures much later. So that leads into an improved shopping experience. A company called DeviceScape did a survey and actually found that 62% of their patrons stay longer, which means that there's also a jump in spending more money, which is what everybody wants. And I think that's just more indicative of sort of more of that courtesy stuff that you offer, the more you improve your branding. The other thing, and this actually works for both sides of the coin, is the convenience and the secure connection. I'm sure all of you have been in places where they're doing the free Wi-Fi, and it's nice that they're doing it, but it's either a super simple password or there's no password. It's completely unsecured. And hopping on a system like that is bad for everybody. It's giving, you know, it's really just putting your stuff out there free floating. It's not good for the store. So when you have a secure and convenient Wi-Fi connection with a platform like this, that is when they don't have to worry and you don't have to worry, and it's working. You know, it's going fast. It's allowing them to, I don't understand this form of shopping, but my daughter will literally go out and just start snapping pictures to me of like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Like, it kind of drives me crazy. But there's more of her out there in the stores probably than me, who just dives in, pulls my stuff and goes. So I thought of her when I actually was kind of reviewing the deck here. And Wayne will definitely touch on all of this, but especially the ability to take advantage of discounts or exclusive benefits. There's multitudes of ways to add special promotions, exclusive promotions, simply just by people accessing the Wi-Fi or being a part of it. And you can also do quick quizzes. I saw some examples of this a few weeks ago. They're great. When people get in and they log on, that initial splash page could be anything from, what do you want to see on our new menu? What do you want to see us bring into the store? You know, do you like to shop more in the spring than the fall? It could be anything, but all that information is yours, and you can leverage that to do any number of things. So I'm going to turn it over to Wayne.
Yeah, I'm going to actually start with that and kind of work my way back up this benefit list. Because we talked on the previous slide about the way that you can customize what's presented to your guests when they connect to your Wi-Fi, and how you initially capture that contact information. But that's just the beginning of the journey. And what you have control over is subsequent data collection presentation. So you can alter that guest experience the next time they come in. The system recognizes them as a return guest. So all of these things, whether it's a cell phone or a Wi-Fi connection or Bluetooth or any of these wireless technologies, there's a connection going on there. And this isn't intended to be a technical discussion by any stretch, but just to understand it a little bit. But there's constantly data that's being exchanged, collected, transmitted, and all of that. That's just the reality. It's constantly going on. And what it's not intended to be a big brother kind of a thing, like Jodi said earlier. It's just recognizing that information is today and tomorrow's primary currency. The more informed you are, the more able you are to understand things, the better you're in a position to offer your customers things that they're going to respond favorably to. And these are tools that are available to small businesses at economical prices. You don't have to be an expert at any of this stuff. That's why we built this. This is why Rural Solutions exists. This is why GoZone exists, is to help unlock, the value in this kind of thing in a simple and affordable and automated way. And understanding that if you use this to help you gather more information and have a better understanding and be more informed, and then turn that understanding into actions, things that take advantage of your ability to continue to communicate, engage with your customers, like the discounts or benefits or promotional offers or things, you will see results because you understand what they want. You're delivering things that are of value to them, and you're doing it in a way that they respond well to, and that turns into revenue for you, or more frequent visits, or them telling someone else about the positive experience, or whatever your kind of value points are. This whole notion of Wi-Fi being expected and the experience that people have with Wi-Fi, whether it's poor or good, is a reality. It is the same thing that used to be like, what's the condition of the bathroom? That always showed up at the top of these customer satisfaction surveys that used to be done. I just remember this from very early in my career, that McDonald's, and I was sitting on a seminar or webinar very similar to this, not with all this technology we have today, but certainly, the same kind of thing. And the question posed was, what's the number one complaint system-wide across all of McDonald's restaurants? And you can think of all the things that you would say, or that you might think, or whatever, associated with McDonald's. And side note on McDonald's, I love McDonald's. I could eat at McDonald's every single day. Luckily, I have the willpower. I understand it's not great food, but there's something about those golden arches that make me salivate every time I see them. But consistently and overwhelmingly, the number one complaint at McDonald's from surveys at McDonald's was the condition of their restrooms. It had nothing to do with the food, the service behind the counter, or anything. It was literally the condition of the bathroom. The Wi-Fi, the availability of Wi-Fi, the performance of the Wi-Fi, the security of the Wi-Fi, those are today's restroom satisfaction score outcomes just waiting to happen. And one other thing I'll mention about the technology is, or two things really, is if you see a high number of bars on your cell service or on a Wi-Fi connection, that doesn't mean that you're going to have a strong and high performance one. There's a lot of other things going on there that influence that performance downward. And the other point I wanted to just reinforce is the security aspect. There's actually less risk to an individual in your store getting onto an open and public network than there is to you as the business proprietor. you should be behind a firewall with anything that you expose to anyone that has access to your network. That is an absolute must. And you're just protecting yourself, because you have no control over someone taking advantage of the fact that you're giving them access to your network. Everything is on your network. So everything that we do stays behind that firewall, which means that it is separated from the business operations that you have on whatever network you have. And it's really just a tunnel for people to get through, to get onto the internet that you're providing. So just a little bit of a sidetrack on that. I can't reinforce enough the importance of this. And then just put yourself back into the shoes of the consumer and your own personal experiences with, how did the Wi-Fi perform, and all your frustrations with your cell service and all that kind of stuff. There is value to your guests to provide this network to them. And then all of the tools that we have available and the data that's collected and the things that you can do are how you get payback for providing them with that high performance connection.
Great, thank you, Wayne. So this next slide is about how the Wi-Fi marketing value benefits venues. And we did touch on that a little bit, but as I had mentioned earlier, and Wayne did too, that Wi-Fi marketing is one of the least expensive ways to collect the critical data that you need about your customers. If you think about the cost of focus groups, phone or email surveys, those costs can get pretty big. Those can be pretty big ticket items. And, most small businesses don't have that kind of a budget to spend $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 just on a focus group. The Wi-Fi marketing, using a platform that that is unintrusive, but yet collects an incredible amount of data. It just sort of, the scales really even out there. The same survey, DeviceScape, found, as we said before, that customers tend to spend more money in a venue that has Wi-Fi marketing. It's because they're sticking around, quite frankly. They know they're going to get the phone calls they need. They know that they have the data. They're not in a rush, especially those who are very connected to their phones, to get to some place where they can keep communicating. As Wayne mentioned, and he'll get into more details about this, it's incredibly easy to take this information and really start that marketing journey with them. And you can do it over multiple channels with many API integrations. The platform integrates with a whole pile of different social media platforms, email marketing platforms. It's kind of like you get this, this piece of clay that you can just mold into what you want. And then that leads to, driving more revenue, increasing more sales. I think the demographics, you get to analyze demographics on a level that you're not going to see from just your Facebook page or just your Instagram page. You're really going to be able to dig in on stuff and segment an email list or really target a particular group and create a campaign around that. I can't tell you how many, a lot of businesses have an idea of who their audience is, but when you start to see demographics, you start to really put that to the litmus test. And that's where this kind of information is just worth its weight in gold. And if you're a place like a coffee shop, one of my clients was New Moon over here on, I think it's Cherry Street. I love their place. I don't know if you guys have been there. It's really beautiful. It's big. They are a huge draw for the college students. I mean, obviously, because they serve coffee and incredible sweet treats. But the place is really big. And they have free Wi-Fi at any points during midterms or final exams, the place is packed. It's actually turned into a place where groups go to study. And they have a real love-hate relationship with that because they will have college students getting 1 or 2 cups of coffee and they'll be there for 5 hours because they're on the system. But when you have a platform like this, you can actually control that. You can, give 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and then people either have to log in again, or, they can't. That again, there's so much within your control, and that in a place like a coffee house where people will sit for a really long time, that's important. And I actually had, told them about that. I don't know if they ever did it, but when you have a place like that and you're trying to fill tables of people who are paying for lunch and paying to sit there versus, I get it. I have a college kid, but 5 hours on a $4 cup of coffee, that's kind of cutting into your profits. So I'm going to turn it over to Wayne to talk a little bit more about all this stuff.
All right, yeah, so this is where we kind of get to the meat of this. So let's just start with the fact that, first of all, at this point in the presentation, we've talked about a lot of things. We've gone through a lot of details. We probably even used some terminology or reference things that you may not understand, and it might start to sound a little overwhelming. And what I wanted to reinforce to you is that the vast majority of what we've been talking about and presenting are things that our system takes care of for you. It's designed to be simple, easy, automated, take advantage of both technology and our expertise, and get you focused in on the things that you should be spending your time on, which is not trying to scrape up enough money to pay a marketing company for something that you're not going to get a lot of results out of, or try to manage a lot of this stuff more manually. It's focused on what's the value you can bring to your customers. So if we can help you with tools that collect this information, provide this safe way to get onto the internet, allow you to offer that amenity, and start to give you information that helps inform you better, you can focus on things that are going to help your business. And that's the only thing that we can't offer you, because you know your business best, you know the things that you want to do. But if we can allow you the time to focus on that and then give you ways that you can implement it, you should see the kind of results that we're talking about. And ultimately, there's a lot of different features within the platform. Not all of them are going to necessarily apply to you, but there's a subset that will. We've given you some examples of that already. But just as an example, and one little kind of pitch is, if you're interested in learning more about this or spending a little bit more time with us, this is primarily what Jodi's organization and mine does, is work in a consultative fashion with companies like yours to help you understand where you can get more value out of this, specific to your business type and the things that you have as priorities. And so we welcome that if you're interested. But as a takeaway, you will be able to engage, you will be providing things of value, and there is going to be an ongoing collection of information that, if you use it, will help drive better decisions you can make on how to improve or expand or change or modify, or whatever the case may be, however you see fit. And we just tried to give you a few examples of that. But remember that reporting, access to information, those things are available to you out of our dashboard, as well as the ability to actually launch campaigns and do things we've been talking about from a marketing perspective. And if you use the information and then continue to invest in ways to to continue to engage with people that you have made contact with, you're going to see the kind of results that you're expecting.
Wayne, Peggy put a question into the chat about firewall.
Yeah. So yeah, let me explain that a little bit. And again, this isn't supposed to be a technical conversation, but I have come out of the networking space, so I know probably a little more about this than most marketing people. So you have a network today. It may be something as simple as a residential router that you purchased or that your internet provider has given to you, or it could be something more sophisticated. One thing, and we'll get into this a little bit when we get into the next slide, but there is a certain base level of technology that's required to do this. If you're using a residential router, you're going to need to purchase networking hardware that will support these tools from being used, because typically residential networking equipment doesn't do it. But as Jodi mentioned very early in this presentation, you want to do that anyway, because if you're offering guest Wi-Fi, you want it to be high performance, and that doesn't need to mean that it's expensive. It just needs to be different potentially than what you're offering, and that's part of what we can help you understand as well. But regardless of whether it's a residential router or it's commercial networking equipment, every networking device, a router, a switch, whatever, these different networking equipment hardware, has a firewall. The firewall is physical security. It's hardware and software working to protect the outside world from getting access to your network. And so every one of you, if you have a network in your facility today, have a firewall of some kind. What offering unrestricted open access to your network does is it allows people that you don't know onto the other side of that firewall, into your network. You don't want to do that. So the way that our software works is that we interact with your equipment over the internet from the cloud. All of our software resides in the cloud. And so we don't require that you put anything into your facility to make our software work, except hardware that will accept the information that we exchange with it in order for us to collect the data and present the things that we talked about. But at no point are we even operating on the other side of your firewall. So we don't allow ourselves or anybody that we would allow to connect to your network to even get on the other side. And that's the security part of it, is that we are operating on what's called layer 2 or layer 3 rather, network protocol, which is one level below your physical security. We never go near it. And I'm trying to explain it in as layperson's a way as possible, but we physically don't even go there. And nor do we allow anybody that connects through our software to go there. And that's why it's secure. Does that make sense? I hope that answered the question.
Did that answer your question, Peggy?
It did. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Okay. Oop. Did I come on? Sorry, gotta wake up my mouse here.
Jodi, this is Simeon. While you're doing that, a question occurred to me. This might be challenging to answer because I'm sure there's lots of different businesses and what they decide to do with the program varies. But are you able to give a sense, if you're like a 1 or 2 person business, what's the kind of like the time that you would budget putting into managing this?
It would be pretty minimal. I mean, really, it's really going to depend on how much you want to. I mean, if you really want to be, like 1 hour a week, that's fine. Because, I mean, you would then want somebody like me getting in there, it's part of my job to look at the dashboard, read the analytics, see what's going on, see what I'm seeing going on there, and give suggestions and advice. One of the interesting aspects of one of the tiers of the platform is that there's heat mapping. And if you think of an email, some people call it where people are clicking. A heat map shows you where people are accessing the most. So with this platform, you can actually see in a specific space where people are accessing the free Wi-Fi the most. So let's say you're a store on Church Street and you're seeing that people are, there's a big bubble right at the front of the store. If I see that, I'm going to say to my client, listen, I don't know what you have at the front of the store. Can you tell me? And I'm going to listen to that and say, okay, this is a big hotspot in your store. So if there are items you want to push, if it's seasonal, something, I'm going to say, make a nicer arrangement up there somehow, highlight some stuff. So it's really about how much the business person wants to do. I mean, as Wayne said, like, really our job is to, the platform automates so much, but it's our job to really take as much off your desk as you need off. So I don't know if that's accurately answering your question, but it's really as little or as much as a business owner wants to dive in.
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit to that too. I think it's an awesome question that we should pause on for a couple minutes, because it actually says as much as it asks. Everybody has a limited amount of time, and especially if you're a small business where you're, wearing a lot of hats, which we all are, you struggle sometimes with things like this where, wow, this sounds great. And yeah, wouldn't it be awesome if I could do all this kind of stuff? And then you immediately think, well, when am I going to find time to do that when I'm already buried and I can't get to all the things that I already wanted to do? But I would actually add to Jodi's comments, just sort of a reinforcement to something that I started out saying at the very beginning, which is this doesn't involve anything different from what you're already doing today. It's just liberating you a little bit with tools that are just a lot easier and simpler and more effective than some of the more traditional ways that you're looking to try to bring more people into your store or communicate about the kinds of things that you offer, or get more involved in the community, or partner with other businesses, or whatever that laundry list of things that you as a business owner, a business operator, a manager do every single day. If you step back, and this is, if there's one thing that you take away from this today, it's that point. If you step back and think about the things that you're doing, not to balance the books or any of the business operation stuff, but the things that you're doing or thinking about or trying to do to drive better performance of your business, then just plug all of those things into something like this and think about how much more effectively you could potentially be doing all those things or more. Because if you do that, you're going to get value out of this platform. How much time does that take in a week or a month? How much time are you spending now? It shouldn't be any more. You should just get either more out of it, or it should take you less time. Because for a small business, software and consultation like this should be either your primary marketing or a significant portion of your marketing. Now, when I start talking to bigger venues, more sophisticated facilities, they've got marketing departments and all kinds of staff and money and all that, we're just one of many things that they do, and they take advantage of different parts and pieces of this. But in the small business space, which is still, one of our largest pieces of business, we might be the only thing you're really doing. And we can help you with a lot of different things. So I would look at it a little bit differently than, how much more time is this going to take me, to how much of my time can I put into this, because I can get a lot of value out of it.
Mhm.
And look at it just as a better way of doing most of the things that you're already doing today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Great question. I couldn't have had a better setup, man.
There's more to come.
We didn't rehearse that, by the way.
No,
That was on the fly out of genuine interest by Cindy.
right.
Yes.
I have a question. Is there, if we wanted to set up an appointment with you or Jodi, is there a consultation fee initial fee to just speak with you about our businesses and what we want?
No, we meaning Rural Solutions, but it's also, part of GoZone. We do a free half hour. So anyone that's here, anyone who has signed up and will see this, it's, we do a free half hour consultation to see, and we do that with Wayne or his colleague, Eric, and we will go through, get an idea of what's going on with your marketing and how this can all integrate and, really make it easier for you.
Okay.
And I don't know, I'd like feedback on this, both Jodi and I would,
Yeah.
now or after the fact, but we really try hard not to be salesy.
Yeah, we're
and
really
pitch things, and I hope it's coming across that way. Obviously, we have, our company's products and services to sell at the end of the day, but the nice thing about being in this business is, if we aren't successful in helping you be successful, there's no value in our product or services. So it kind of makes it easy to focus our time and attention on trying to understand your business better, and then present you with ideas and recommendations for things that can help you. And it all sort of works out in the end. You're going to pay money for something only because you're going to get more money out of it than you put into it. And that's what makes this business such a wonderful one, is there isn't a loser in this. The guests benefit, you benefit, and of course, we benefit by getting this relationship and revenue out of you for our business. And that's, kind of how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, I just, and same, thanks for saying that, Wayne, because especially now that I'm an empty nester, I tend to go out a lot more. Apparently I'm re-experiencing my 20s. But I just I love small businesses. I'm just such a champion for them. And I hate to see businesses leave money on the table. And so hopefully we're presenting this in a way that's both educational, and I realize there's a lot of information being thrown at everybody, so it's okay to feel a little overwhelmed by that. But to understand that this is actually a tool that just exists, because I don't think a lot of people here know, and not just here, but in other places. So I appreciate you guys listening.
The one thing I'll say, just to kind of wrap this up a little bit, and just to reinforce something that's really, really important, is that the whole point of creating tools like this to equip you with, just better ways of doing things and better ways of understanding things, is to give you the time and the opportunity to do more. And what that means is, and the challenge for all of you is to actually do that. So whatever level of engagement that you have currently with your customers, with, prospective customers, that's got to get amped up. And because you're not going to get anything more than you're getting today if you don't put, more effort into it. But tools and consultation and ideas and expertise like this is intended to give you time to come up with more creative ways to promote yourself and your businesses. And then we provide the tools to get that word out to you. If you don't take that challenge on and do more things, you can't expect to get anything more out of it, no matter how good our software is or how much Jodi and I think, we're great at, doing our work. Ultimately, it's, what are you trying to promote here? What are you going to do with this information and these tools? And that's really where we hope to, allow you to focus your time and attention.
Right. So just a couple of three more benefits for venues with using Wi-Fi marketing. You own your data. That is 100% you. And I can say that as the Chief Marketing Officer for Rural Solutions, if we're doing any kind of creative work for you, you also own that. That's just my division's, that's one of the principles that we work on. We don't hold people's creative. So again, you have so much in your control. The hardware neutral platforms, I can have Wayne speak a little bit more to that, but what I can tell you is that Thomas, our CEO and CTO, he's going to recommend hardware, because this system is a mix of, it's like a marriage of having the right hardware in place so that your software really kicks butt. Thomas is going to recommend what works at the most, effective price levels. It's just the way it is. And then again, the flexibility is really about how, a business will use the platform, and it can start out very simply. And then, once you start seeing the results and seeing how it works, then it's about, you can grow it. Or, if you want to jump into the deep end right off the bat, you can do that too. Again, it's about you having that control.
Yeah, let me comment on the data piece for a second.
Okay.
Couple of points there. If you don't promote Wi-Fi and get as many people that come into your place of business onto your network, the data is the cellular carriers' data.
Right.
Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, they're collecting all the information.
Yeah.
You're missing out. You're completely missing out on information that you could be collecting for you to use for your benefit. And I don't know the last time Verizon or T-Mobile or AT&T contacted you and asked you if you'd like to have some information on people that came into your stores, but the answer to that is never, and it never will be. So just a point on that. The other thing I wanted to reinforce is, as GoZone's policy, we're collecting this information for you. We're storing it. We're giving you access to it, but we don't do anything with it except that. It's anonymized. We can't sell it. We can't access it. We're not a company that takes information from other people and then uses it for our own benefit. So that's something for you to be aware of, that while we're doing some very important things for you, they're completely and entirely for you. And that's specified very, very prominently in all of our policy and software as a service agreement things that we have put together to help support you. So we also secure the information of your guests on your behalf and provide you tools for managing that, because people want to know what's being done with their personal information. And that's another whole topic that Jodi and I will probably spin up as a webinar topic for a later date. But
Right.
but I just want to make sure you know that between Rural Solutions and GoZone, this is something fundamental and foundational to what we do, that you can entrust your information to us, and we not only will help you understand it and use it more effectively, like we've been talking about all along, but we will safeguard it, and we will allow you to help your customers or guests maintain control over their own personal information, which is the only way that all this stuff ought to work. And then on the subject of hardware, we're going to find out if we start working with you if any changes need to be made so that you can take advantage of this. As I mentioned earlier, it doesn't mean that it's a bunch of money. It just means that something different needs to be put in so that you can, provide that high-speed network and do it in a way that allows you to take advantage of this kind of stuff. But the promise here is that the way that we've built our software and the way our software interacts with networking equipment is there isn't really any equipment that has the capabilities to do the kind of things we've talked about that we don't work with. So you have a lot of choices, and you can count on the fact that regardless of what you end up deciding, our product will work the way that it's supposed to. And even if you made a change down the road to something different, your experience using our software and your guests' experience are going to remain the same because we provide that common guest experience regardless of what equipment we're operating on.
Great, thank you so much, Wayne. Okay, so how do you add Wi-Fi marketing to your space, your venue? We've touched on a lot of this already. Actually, I think we've touched on all of it, so I'll just quickly review it. There's two aspects to the installation, the hardware that is needed. You may have equipment there, that's perfectly fine, but we do need to do an assessment to make sure, for the reasons that Wayne has already talked about, security, experience, all of that. And then there's the platform, the actual software. And, in many situations, your equipment, if it's sound and secure and it's doing what it needs to do, it's easily configured to work with GoZone. So again, not a huge deal. Wayne, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think we've covered it.
Okay. So I'm addressing this question, why not just use a basic router with a password? And this is because my cousin, whose family owns a restaurant right now, this is what they're doing in New Jersey. I wanted to strangle him because it's a sizable place. It's been there since 1940. And I'm like, what are you doing? There's several reasons. One, it's not as secure as you think. I think we all think that passwords are kind of like, these incredible warriors against getting hacked. And they're just not. I mean, there's so much more that has to go into your business's security. And then there's the whole, we have a router, just jump on it, which is just, Wayne was talking about that earlier. That's just terrifying. I mean, because the bottom line is if someone wants to access more than your Wi-Fi, they can when you're just using a basic router. You're giving away free Wi-Fi that you're paying for. You're paying for that internet connection every month through Burlington Telecom or Comcast or whatever it is. And you're not getting that exchange back. You're not getting the information. You're not getting a thank you in the form of that data collection. So again, it's just leaving money on the table. You're bypassing that opportunity to leverage really the entire platform, obviously, but once people log on and get to that splash page, there's so much you can do with that. And as we already discussed, an access point, meaning a router only works as well as the equipment you have allows it. And what I was thinking here, we were talking to one of the vineyards out on Grand Isle, and they do a lot of outside events during the summer. And they have a Wi-Fi system, but once you go about 100 feet away from the restaurant, it's dead. And as you guys all know, the cell phone coverage out there is pretty terrible. So you have, several hundred people gathered for events that are happening once or twice a week. And again, it's that user experience. They're not getting online, they're not getting phone calls. So it's all about that, going to Best Buy and just buying a router and sticking it in your venue is not enough. And it's not doing you, at the end of the day, it's not doing your business any good. Do you have anything you want to add, Wayne?
No, it's as easy as just giving us an opportunity to talk with you a little bit about what you currently have in place, and we'll determine really quickly if you need something else. It will either be because you're not able to provide the level of security that you want, like Jodi just said, or the product that you're currently using isn't capable of connecting with our software and exchanging the information that we need in order to provide this kind of value. One last thing, and just it's more reinforcement of what we've been talking about before, but this is always a little bit of a struggle or challenge for people initially, because we're so conditioned to think about these kind of things as sort of a necessary evil, or it's just an expense or whatever. But the networking equipment itself is the foundation that you're building all of this on. So if you go back to the very beginning of our conversation here, and some of the early things we said about people wanting to and expecting to be able to connect to a network, the expectation there isn't that they can connect, or just that they can connect. It's that they can connect to something that is safe and that is high performance. Those are the two things they want. They want to be able to do whatever they want to do. They expect you to provide it to them, and they don't want to worry. So getting the right system in place is paramount. It's critical to being able to do all this other stuff. It's basically where you start. And again, you may have everything you need, but we'll figure it out, and we'll help you understand if you do need to make any changes, what those changes are, and what they'll cost, so that you can begin this journey.
Oh, I think we have a question.
It's actually a question segueing into the next slide, I believe.
Yep, it is. Thanks, Pacific. I am going to move into the next slide here. So what does Wi-Fi marketing cost? I'll go through these, and then I'm going to pass it over to Wayne. As we've discussed, equipment needs are assessed through a site evaluation. And again, you may not need new equipment, but the assessment is needed to determine how much reach you have versus how much you want to have, and if needed, if there's more access points. GoZone is tiered. I'll have Wayne talk about that a little bit more. Professional services, there are services available through the platform, and then there are services that we do over at Rural Solutions in packages, and they kind of dovetail each other. So again, I'm going to have Wayne talk about their managed service stuff, and then I'm happy to answer some questions about that. I think the thing to really think about is that many, if not all of these services fall under the Embrace grant that is still open with the CVOEO. So that's something to talk to Simeon about, I think, afterward, if you have some interest in this, because you can set yourself up pretty nicely with the Embrace grant. So Wayne, can you talk about the tiers a little bit and the professional services?
Absolutely. One comment on the consultative or professional services real quickly. We partner with companies like Rural Solutions, who are experts in both that network evaluation and the provision of the kinds of technology that you need to be effective, whether that be the kind of things we're talking about on today's call or a lot of other things that they do. And we also partner with them on providing this kind of consultation, and in this case, marketing expertise through training that we do on our product to them and their staff. and
Right.
support that we provide them with. So they're an authorized reseller of our product. They're trained on our product. And primarily they and their staff will be the ones that are interacting directly with you. But depending on the situation, they may ask someone from our staff to either work with them behind the scenes or work directly with you and them on things that are going on. And so when we start getting into more specifics on that, just understand that that's going to be the case. All of the costs associated with doing this are going to be costs that you would be working out and being charged for from Rural Solutions. So
Right.
we aren't directly billing you, although we may end up working with you directly with them. And so the prices that I've included in this for the GoZone stuff are all our suggested retail prices. And primarily they are dependent on the features or the parts of the platform that you're choosing to use, or that we're helping you understand that you're going to need as part of our recommendation. And a couple things to point out here are that if you purchased a subscription to software in the past, which I'm sure you have, you probably have Office 365 or QuickBooks or something like that. You may actually already subscribe to an email application like MailChimp or Constant Contact or one of those. Our product works exactly the same. You're paying for a subscription, you're committing to a year, but we offer different options for payment, where you get a discount if you pay for it up front, but you also can pay for it on a monthly basis. And the reference to the plan starting at $300 annual or $30 per month is our entry-level platform called Essentials. There are two other tiers, one called Professional, one called Professional Plus, and we can provide additional information on that to you as follow-up. But basically what you're getting as you move from Essentials to Professional Plus is just more sophisticated portions of our platform. Like as an example, Jodi mentioned APIs and automation and that kind of thing. What that means is that you would want to take the information that we're collecting and automate the transfer of that information into another software application, like a CRM platform, like Salesforce,
Like Constant Contact.
or Constant Contact or whatever. If that's not the case, then we don't make you pay for that, and you can get in and use our product in a more affordable way. So one of the things that we'll do once the assessment is completed is that 30-minute consultation that Jodi referenced earlier is really intended to be a discovery session where we help prompt you through some answers to questions that we have that help us determine what level of functionality or which applications or features you need to accomplish your goals. And that'll really drive us to which of these products we'll end up recommending to you. One thing that's nice about the way that we structure our pricing is when you become a client of ours, you're signing up for one of those three tiers: Essentials, Professional, Professional Plus. There's a cost per year for that, which is the creation of your client dashboard and the inclusion of the features that we include in each of those tiers. But if you have more than one access point in your place of business, and that would be the different networking devices that would be broadcasting Wi-Fi and that our stuff would be broadcast over, there's just a flat fee to add each additional license over the top of that initial client dashboard at $250 a year or $25 a month. So even if you purchased our most expensive plan, which is $900 a year or $90 a month, if you added one or two or three other access points, they all will just cost $250, just a flat rate, just to kind of explain that. But again, we can provide more details on the pricing and the different options that you have, so it's clear to you as we start to start our engagement.
Thanks, Wayne. And just to add a little bit on the professional services side, those kinds of things are, it's like email marketing, setting up your email marketing, setting up automated triggers, which, you know, you can do for birthdays, anniversaries. Hey, we haven't seen you in 30 days. Social media, setting up specific campaigns or feeding into your organic, you know, those sort of basic building blocks. That all falls under the kinds of things that Rural Solutions and the marketing team helps with.
Yeah, and one thing on this, because you might be thinking, you know, how much time is this going to be and how much is it going to cost and what am I going to get out of it? Those are all still, no matter how good Jodi and I did today, those are still questions that are somewhat unanswered until we really get into the meat of it. But
Right.
what I can tell you is that we've built a product that is intended to be very efficient. There's a lot of automation. You know, we talked about this a little bit throughout the presentation about these tools that we can put in your hands where you don't have to spend a lot of time doing things. But I also want to tell you that selfishly, we built a system that's really, really, really efficient for us to use as an operator. And what that means for you is that we can do a lot of things in a very efficient manner. So, you know, hours of time spent supporting you is optimized. And that means a lower cost for you, even if you are taking advantage of Rural Solutions staff or ours. So, and you'll see that as we get into, you know, more of the details around our project with you, if you do decide to move forward. But just a quick, you know, comment on that we built this thing to be used in a very efficient way, because we have costs, obviously, that we're trying to manage just like you are.
So this slide is just highlighting some of the case studies that are available about the system. There's a restaurant there, outdoor recreation, which if you don't already know, we are going to be doing a second webinar on Wi-Fi marketing specific to outdoor venues and food trucks. And outdoor venues are anything from campgrounds and state parks to, like I was talking about, that winery that has that whole outdoor part. So we're doing that on April 13th. It's 2 weeks from today. Gaming, casino, resort hospitality, which obviously we have a ton of up here. Event and convention centers. We're getting into event season. Not that they aren't year round, but obviously with the weather, we have just a ton of them from May through October, and sports and entertainment. So if anybody's interested in getting a case study, reading it, just drop me an email, and we'll send that right out to you so you can take a look.
Hey, and by the way, these are only a handful of examples of real clients that we've been working with and helping, you know, unlock some of this value. If the screen were bigger, we could have shown even more. Like as an example, city and community is a really large and growing part of our business where, you know, you've got retail businesses obviously involved in every business district or Main Street or Chamber of Commerce or Better Business or whatever association the case may be. But there's also interests out of, you know, city leadership or community leadership around connecting people, providing Wi-Fi access, getting benefit out of it, both for, you know, the community at large, as well as for individual businesses. And I'm sure as many of you have heard or maybe even have taken advantage of, helping to close, you know, the digital divide and helping give access to high-speed internet to everyone, regardless of their socioeconomic situation. And so there's a lot of opportunities for a platform like this to help assist in those efforts. And it goes well beyond just the, you know, traditional marketing and help, you know, businesses make more money kind of thing. It's changing and improving people's lives and making a difference, especially during, you know, all of the challenges that we've had through this pandemic. just a little plug for GoZone on this, but we actually have special pricing discounts that we provide to all city and community projects to help support this kind of initiative, and provide consultative services for free, and a variety of things that we do to help, push our value forward into areas like that where there's more than just a buck to be made. And so if there's any opportunities like that, or more interest in understanding that a little bit better, please reach out to Jodi or myself, and we can help you understand some of the things that are available for venues or situations like that.
So I don't know if anybody had any last minute questions.
I've got a question. I'm just out of curiosity. Are there any kinds of businesses where this might not be the best fit for?
Yeah,
Questions?
yeah, absolutely. The way I describe it is, if the business's business is welcoming their customers into their place of business, and that customer is consuming something for a long enough period of time that they want to connect to the Wi-Fi, we can help. Office buildings, not so much. K-12 schools. There are large, types of facilities that just don't really have, the kinds of interests that we could help with. But everything else is pretty much fair game. Even if you think about school districts, especially the larger ones, they have performing arts centers, they have field houses, or community centers that have been a collaborative effort between the school district and the city, perhaps, where there's a lot of things going on. The way I always say it is, it's a institution of learning during the day, but it's a public venue on the weekends and during the evenings. So large football stadiums, basketball courts. If there's a car dealership or insurance or bank sign hanging someplace, there's an opportunity to use these digital efforts as well. And it's surprising when you start getting into these kind of things, how often the common theme is, we don't have a good, clean database of contacts. We don't have a good way to reach people. That can be enough of a starting point right there to initiate, some kind of discussion around how tools like this can help. It isn't as mainstream as a lot of the things that we're talking about, like coupons and offers and, the traditional, use of things like this from a marketing standpoint. But at the end of the day, this is a platform that allows us to gather information and then communicate in a variety of ways. So if you think about it broadly, then even facility types like schools or things that wouldn't immediately come to mind actually do have application. So if you have interest in talking about that more, or exploring things, or you have ideas, we're happy to share our insights and listen to yours, because maybe there's an opportunity there.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. Simeon gets the awesome question award today.
It does.
Some of the folks that I work with, they attend like farmers markets and things like that.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, would this be a potential option if people might be doing outdoor venues where there may not be an internet connection, but they would still like to try to capitalize on this?
My initial thought on that, first of all, the answer is yes. And the inspiration I would sort of apply there is that one of our largest vertical markets actually is temporary events. And while most of that is larger events like festivals or outdoor concerts, or even like golf, professional golf tournaments, races, if you think about that in the broad sense. But if you think about a smaller event like that, it's got all the same characteristics. You've got a common gathering area. You've got a bunch of traffic to it. It's for a temporary period of time, and there's a lot of different constituents who might, benefit from a coordinated effort to provide access and then, provide some of that value back. And with a smaller, like geographic area like that, there's actually some really good technology that's really affordable that can be, set up or installed on a temporary basis that would create, a wireless network in the area that
Yeah,
farmers market
it
would
creates
be
the
sitting.
hotspot. We were
Yep,
talking
create
about
it.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Create a hotspot, and then like we talked about throughout this presentation, our product will work with a variety of equipment. So it doesn't require that the equipment be wired and screwed onto a ceiling or a wall. We don't know
Right.
the difference. It's just a piece of networking equipment, and so yeah, there's a great opportunity there.
Yeah, we'll definitely be diving into a lot of that in 2 weeks because, with food trucks, they're obviously mobile.
Right.
So, it's really that idea of creating like that food truck becomes the hotspot. But in order to get onto that hotspot's free Wi-Fi, you have to, pass through, give up some credentials.
Mhm, mhm.
and
What's
go
interesting
over.
about a situation like that, Simeon, is that if any of the businesses that are participating in that farmers market are have any kind of point of sale equipment, like they're running a credit card or
Right.
anything like that,
Yeah, I think most of them do.
they have access to the internet
Data, right?
already,
Yeah.
and they're getting it from somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So we could either tap into that if it's already existing, or we could actually, through the provision of a network, offering, allow additional businesses to get on board as a secondary benefit
Mhm.
and run point of sale if they don't have access. So anyway, there's always a number of things that can come out of these discussions, and that's why for everyone that attended or that is going to listen to this, after the fact, if they weren't able to make it live, the likelihood that there isn't some way that this kind of solution can benefit you is really low. In almost every case, there's something here to take advantage of. And again, that's not a sales pitch, it's just a reality. And that's why we work with so many different types of venues, large, small, and across all those different business types, because there is a lot here to potentially take advantage of.
My last question is for business owners and or their customers where English is not their first language. Is this offered in other languages?
Yeah, everything that we do is translatable, and I forget the exact count. I can do a follow-up with you, but I believe we support I think 11 different languages natively within our platform.
Oh, that's great.
And if there's one that we don't support, it's not that hard to add. We just need translations for the common things that you would present in a page like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's our software doesn't care at all. We're just presenting these things, and you can put whatever you want on. In fact, most of the things that you saw in those splash page examples that we showed are user input.
Mm-hmm.
So typing it in or uploading an image or whatever the case may be. And so that actually could be in any form, language wise or otherwise.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just putting my email on the contact there. Any other questions?
Yeah. Any other questions from folks? No? Okay. Well, Jodi, Wayne, really want to thank you so much for taking the time to share information about Wi-Fi marketing. It's been really interesting to learn and listen about what its capabilities are and how it can benefit people. And I'd also just like to mention to folks, if you have any questions feel free to contact either Rachel or myself. And I also just want to remind folks about our program and its benefits, that we work with low to moderate income folks. Microbusiness is a statewide program, but my office in Burlington covers Chittenden, Franklin, Grand Isle, and Addison counties. Rachel, would you mind mentioning and giving a plug for Jodi's next presentation?
Well,
Sure.
Wayne or somebody will be there too.
Right.
Wonderful. I mean, you both can probably speak better to it than I can, but a link has been put in the chat. The next session will be Wednesday, April 13th, again at 10 a.m. It will also be recorded in case you have other obligations at that time. We ask that people pre-register just so that we have a sense of how many people to expect. And the title, it is Wi-Fi Marketing Part 2 for food trucks and outdoor spaces, or something along those lines.
Yes.
So we hope to see you then. And Jodi and Wayne, thank you so much for today. Very informative. And I'm glad that a few of you could stick around to the end. This is really wonderful.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jodi.
My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity. This is my favorite part of my job.
That's great. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a
good
great
rest of your
day.
week.